says the Soleimani takedown was based on intelligence gathering and necessary to prevent any further attacks. Let's review what transpired over the course of the last week. 7 days ago, a U.S. contractor was killed on a rocket attack on a military base in northern Iraq. 2 days later, U.S. forces responded by bombing 3 bases tied to the militia responsible for killing that American contractor. Then the U.S. embassy in Baghdad was attacked by Iranian-backed insurgent groups. And early this morning, that's when the takedown of Soleimani took place. Let's bring in Amir Fakhravar. He is the Senate chairman for the National Iranian Congress, a member of the Iranian resistance. He is in Houston, Texas, and he is in his car. He's very mobile. But it's good to see you, Amir. Talk to us about what your reaction was when you first heard this strike took place.
Thank you, John, for having me. First of all, let's answer this question with my big thank you to Mr. President. President Trump have done a great job. It was the best New Year gift for all Iranians. On behalf of all Iranian communities, inside and outside of the country, I want to say thank you, President Trump. It was amazing.
Soleimani headed Iran's worldwide terrorist organizations. He was responsible for more than 600 U.S. troop deaths in Iraq, thousands of Iraqi deaths as well. So to many, he's obviously a bad guy. But as we talked about in the previous segment, his opposition to the Iranian nuclear deal made him a cult-like figure inside Iran. We now know he's going to be replaced, but can a guy like Soleimani really be replaced? How big of a blow is this to the Quds Force, to the regime, and to the IRGC?
To make a long story short, Quds Force is gone because the Soleimani, he had a huge role in it. And in general, in Iran, we don't have such a thing, hardliner or reformist. It's just words. And all of them, they are hardliners. All of them, they are terrorists. And Soleimani himself, he was a CEO of, let's call it, international terrorism company. They had some contractors, like in Iraq, it was called Hashd al-Shabi or Kataib al-Haq. They had several names. In Lebanon, it's called Hezbollah. In Afghanistan, it's called Fatimiyun. In Pakistan, it's called Zainabiyun. In Yemen, it's called Houthis. These terrorists, the contractors, when they were needed, Soleimani could just move them to different countries to just kill the people. Last month, it happened in Iran. 45 days ago, Qasem Soleimani and Abu Mehdi Mohandes both have been killed last night. They killed with snipers in Iranian streets more than 1,500, it's official numbers, 1,500 protesters, most of them high school students. They were shot in the head and in the heart by Soleimani's terrorist contractors.
And of course, we don't hear about this here in this country because they have complete lockdown on social media in Iran. They've pulled the plug. They make it impossible for this type of information to get out. And that's what they do in Iran. Now, you talked about this, and we've covered this. Those protests on the streets of Iran that we've talked about so much, they were spurred on by this rise in gas prices, which the regime had to do so they would have more money to carry out these kind of terror functions. This is the sign that the Iranian economy is failing there. How close is the Iranian regime? We ask you this question almost every time we have you on, Amir, because there's been some significant development. But how close is the Iranian regime actually to collapsing right now?
Oh, the regime is badly shaking right now. Last night, when the event happened, for the first time, Supreme Leader himself went to the National Security Council meeting to just find some replacement for him and see if they do have any leverage for retaliation, which they don't have it. They realize they don't have it. And the guy Khamenei just named, Ismail Ghani, the guy doesn't have it. And he doesn't know anything about west side of Iran, anything about Iraq. And that means totally Khamenei wants to just stay away from doing anything to make President Trump and U.S. government and U.S. Army angry again, because they couldn't believe such a thing will happen after they killed just one American contractor. And right now, the regime is shaking. But the most important part is, John, in Iran, last night, in the midnight, when it happened, we had huge celebrations. You could see these celebrations in street in Iraq, everywhere, with American flag and Iraqi flag. But in Iran, you could see this celebration on social media. Nobody slept all night, and everybody, they have celebrating. I had my live show on YouTube and Instagram. Everybody, they were just congratulating each other. Millions of Iranian people. We are talking about 96% of the country. It's 90 million population. 96% of the country, they have been celebrating last night since the Qasem Soleimani have been killed until now. Still they are celebrating. And regime ordered all the cookie places to not sell any cookies to anybody, because they don't want people to show to each other that they are happy. They are dancing in their houses, sending videos online. Iranian people, Iraqis, Syrians, everybody, they are happy. It was a huge deal. Thank you, Mr. President Trump.
So considering, Amir, that they do have a complete media blackout, including social media in Iran, what are the things that we should be looking for here in this country to see, if the regime is actually going to fall?
The regime once tried last month when the protest happened. They wanted to make a bloodbath in the street. They shut it down internet for a week. And then it was a huge damage to the regime too, because they are so addicted to internet too. They cannot just run the country without it. And it was huge for them. And right now, I don't think they can do it again. It's very costly for them. But on social media, thank God, right now, everybody all around the world, they can see it. Hopefully, U.S. government will think about some type of probably broadband internet for Iran, because
we heard Rick Grinnell, Rick Grinnell, the ambassador to Germany, has been tweeting about this. In fact, and this is something that Americans should do. They should call their member of Congress and tell that Congress, Democrat or Republican, to support the U.S. providing broadband internet inside Iran. We have the capability to do that, something that the Iranian regime cannot control, and it could be a huge game changer because, that's the double-edged sword about all this, right, Amir? The Iranian regime realizes that they're backed into a corner. They try to pull the plug on the internet, but they also rely on the internet so much, and if you follow the Ayatollah, he is a notorious troll on Twitter. Exactly. And he uses this for his propaganda as well. But what's more important is the people of Iran, the country is something like 70% under the age of 40 years old, correct? It's a very young
advanced
country. And very advanced.
Well-educated, advanced, and westernized.
Right.
That's the problem the regime has right now, because it's a small group of fanatic mullahs in power, and the rest of the country, they're very young, well-educated, westernized, young. What they want to do with these people?
And that's why we always hear, with our guest, Ambassador Woolsey, we always hear this from the President and Secretary of State Pompeo as well. They're always clear to delineate between the Iranian regime, the Islamic Republic, and the Iranian people, two very different mindsets. And we get that insight from you, Amir Fakhravar. Thank you so much for your time. And, I know this is a difficult time, and you're celebrating, of course, and we're happy about that.
But let me tell you, John, something. It's a big joke right now everywhere in Iranian social media. They're saying, yeah, Qasem Soleimani killed a lot of young people because he had the dream to go to heaven and have fun with 72 virgins. But the way he was killed, he can't do that much in heaven even.
All right, Amir, take care. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right.